What do you do when you no longer need a ship? You scuttle it, sell it, let it be forgotten? Today is a story of one such ship. A ship that was saved from being forgotten. A ship that saved many lives on the Great Lakes. This is the story of the Acacia. Built by the Zenith Dredge Company and commissioned in September of 1941, the Coast Guard cutter Acacia would become one of 39 180-foot buoy tenders built for the United States Coast Guard between 1942 and 1944. The Acacia was named for a lighthouse tender of the same name that was sunk in 1942. In 1975, the Acacia went under renovations, which included many upgrades, including an air conditioner. Among the upgrades also included two new 8-cylinder GM electromotive engines, each capable of 750 horsepower, and it would use a diesel-electric propeller system. The Acacia's bow anchor weighs 2,225 pounds and has 720 feet of chain. The Acacia operated in Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. It would break ice in the winter months and tend to over 250 buoys and several lighthouses. The Acacia was officially decommissioned in 2006 after many decades of service. I had the opportunity to speak to the current maintainer of the Acacia and have a former crew member walk me through the ship.
Hi, I'm Pat Brandon. I take care of the Acacia. There was three of us when we decided to get the Acacia that were going to work on it, but the one guy, the first year, he fell in the water and drowned, and the other guy's too busy. So I'm the last man standing here. I have to take care of a ship that had a crew of 52, so it keeps me pretty busy. And I'm having to work on the dock a lot this year, and it's taken away from my painting time. The Acacia was built in 1944, and I understand at the beginning it went out to by Maine in the Atlantic, and then after the war it came back to the Great Lakes and spent the rest of its time here, tending buoys and breaking ice in the wintertime.
Welcome to the WLB 406. Now that was a designation for the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Acacia. This is a buoy tender that I served on and starting in 2001, September 9th. And we all know what happened a few days later, September 11th. So I was here right when September 11th happened, which of course was a terrible thing that happened to our country. But it was I was proud that I was still in the service because I had previously served in the Navy and came to this Coast Guard cutter Acacia in 2001. I was here from 2001 to 2003, and it was quite an adventure, let me tell you. I got scared a couple times, but we had a good crew, we had good captains, and of course we got through it. And I was just proud to serve on here.
We first headed to the crew's forward berthing area, which acted as the quarters where the crew would sleep and recuperate.
This is my berthing area. This right here is where I spend a lot of my time. My locker's right here. Still opens like crap or whatever. And then my rack was right here. Home sweet home for 3 years. This little hot pipe right here kept me warm during the winter months, and during the summer we usually stayed pretty much in port right there in Charlevoix, so we didn't need we had air conditioning, so that heat right there, I didn't spend a lot of time in the bed right there except on duty days. And then behind you is the bathroom. Well, you don't really need to see that. Everybody knows what a bathroom looks like. Oh, and here, let me find a light. There we go. Oh, here we go. This right here is where we spent a lot of time. It looks like they just threw some card tables and stuff in here. The TV actually looks like the same TV we had when we were here. But we used to have a couch on the end and then some place to sit kind of on the side. You know, it looks like they just kind of threw some stuff in here now. But we spent a lot of time in here. Nice air conditioning, keep you nice and cool. It was one of the coolest rooms in the whole place besides the staterooms and the ward room. But we spent a lot of time in there. This is just more berthing. Up forward here, it's kind of dark, can't really see because I don't have the lights on, but let's see if we can find a switch. Here we are. See, I remember where the switches are. Up here is it's like the workshop, bosun area. It's like where all the, you see where it's all the, from my understanding, I didn't work up here that often, but this is where all the gear is for all the buoy tender guys. From what I understand where they used to go. As you can see, a lot of equipment up here. It's like a bosun's mate area. Again, I didn't come up here that often, but since I live right next to it, I was aware of, you know, when they were busy and stuff. There's a bilge, I believe that's the bilge tank. There's a...
Next, I descended into what seemed to be some sort of storage area.
Totally not even sure what that is down there.
Next, we looked at the food storage area.
We used to open this hatch when we needed, and down here is what we call our dry stores. It's a dry storeroom down there with an office off to the left here once you get to the bottom of the stairs. And we used to do all our counting, and it wasn't that big of a storeroom, but we had fun. I mean, had fun. It was secluded. People didn't bother you much when you were down in the hold. Right below this, there's some kind of pump, and when we went through the dry docks in Wisconsin, this thing's always been here, so I'm gonna step over it. Some kind of pump or something that was underneath here, and I remember when we were coming out of dry docks, they had the shipyard workers down in our storerooms, which was fairly empty at that time. All right, let's see what we can. This hatch is probably pretty heavy, if I remember right. All right. Memory comes back to you where everything is. Come on, get in there. There we go. All right. Usually we take this out. And then the stores are up on the shelves over here. You see they stash plates, man. They still got Coast Guard plates down there.
On the other side of the ship is the cold food storage, where they would keep the frozen foods.
Now down here is the berthing crew for most of the bosun mates, which is like a large part of the crew. They're the ones that do a lot of the hard work here on board. And we all work hard, but they work hard. They're the ones that actually handling the buoys, swinging across with that big crane, replacing them. They're out there doing I mean, really hard work. You got to give them credit for that. And then back in the corner is our cold storage. It's one deck down below. That's where we have the ice cream, frozen goods, stuff like that. We used to pull them out of there, bring them up. Now if you want to follow us out here, this right here is the mess deck. Oh, got it. This is the mess deck. Again, this is a big time where we spend a lot of our time. Looks pretty much like it looked when we were in here. They haven't changed much. In fact, they still got the silverware, and plates and the cups and I mean everything's here from when we were here. It's pretty exciting. The same TV they had when we were here. All right, this is where all the chief's mess was. This is where the CPOs hung out and stuff. Nice little area. You want to take note of the portholes right there. So look up, see they can actually open up those windows, undo them and open them up, let it air out in here when the air conditioner wasn't on or we needed to save power. This right here is the admin room. This is where all the administration went. This is where you got your leave paper signed and everything that you needed. You got all your admin guys in there taking care of your records. And this is the engineer. The engine room. This is an exciting place to go. Room right here, this is a pretty exciting place. I didn't come down here often, but I did have a chance to come down here a few times. Say hi to my friends and stuff that work down here in the engine room. Got all sorts of diesels and backups, and again, I'm not an engineer and didn't work as an engineer, so I'm not totally sure what all these things do, but they kept our ship going, so that was, I believe that's basically the drive shaft of the ship. It goes to the screws. Ooh, air conditioning. That's very important when you're on this ship. They added that too, I think in 1975. When they rehauled this whole ship. Anyways, this is the main engineering. I believe this is the soundproof room. I believe this is the soundproof room that they put in 1975. I think this is the one. If you get inside there, you still need earplugs, but it does dampen the sound. I remember that. You know, all sorts of engineering stuff. I don't know what it all is. Another one down here. Again, I'm not sure what all these things do, but very, very interesting. Small little ship has so much, you know, power. You know what I mean? But it only goes 14 knots, which is 15 miles an hour on top of the water, which takes forever to get to Chicago. Yeah, that's the engine room. It gets pretty hot here too. You think it's hot now? Look at this engine room's going. They got an air conditioner down here, but it still gets warm down here. You can feel it. But you know, look, they left their craftsman gear here. Original stuff. I guess they figured if they ever had to start the engines up, they'd need all the parts and tools for it. But yeah, swamp cooler. That's how hot it got down. How hot it gets down here. The soundproof room needs a swamp cooler. Pretty interesting.
I headed down below to take a closer look at the ship's engines. The same area also houses the Acacia's batteries.
Extinguisher. I'm not sure if they still have versions of these now. I'm pretty sure they've updated it to something else. But these have a powder in it, and it's to, if I remember right, it's to put out oil fires and stuff like that. So it makes sense to have it down here, you know. So that's them. This is an old. They got a stereo there. I believe they put it in when I was on board or right before, and they still have it here. The guy's still strapped up and ready to go. There's it inside there with deck tapes. It's got our tape deck. Sorry. Old float coats. So you got your blow it up in case you need to, but you also have a CO2. Where's it at? Here it is. You pull it. It's supposed to fill it up automatically. In the Navy, it has they have a saltwater indicator. Once it hits the water, it knows right away. I believe this is like a chem light. Yeah, that's a chem light. You hit it and then it lights up, so people know where you are in the ocean or the lake. And you wear those when you go out on the deck, or if you got to do something during high seas or a high river, lake, whatever they call it here in Michigan, and high water, just in case you get thrown overboard. My goodness, memories. Old school sound-powered phone. Looks like it's still dressed up like it was here originally. Yeah, go like that. I'm not gonna undo it, but this end fits into. Is there one around here? I don't see one, but that fits into one end of the sound-powered phone. And then you put your headphones on, and then you just talk in. It's got a little. It's not really just to open and close the valve, so you can talk into it. It's like almost like playing cans, where you have a can with a string and you talk into the can, and on the side you hear it. Well, this one's like a ship-wide one.
We then headed out of the engine room and back up to the first deck.
Okay. Back here's wardrooms for the chiefs. Bosun mates are on this side. I'm not sure who was on this side. It might have been a junior officer's berthing. But going back this way. This is where we got the coldest water on the ship, right here. Right here at this water fountain was the coldest water on the ship. And then right up here goes up to the fantail. You can see it's marked off, so we're not going to go up through there, but that goes up to the fantail behind the mast. Behind the stack. Wardroom. Spend some time in here. This is a beautiful table. Look at this. Ace of the Lakes. Beautiful table. This is wardroom. This is where the officers ate. Now, they didn't have a separate mess because we're too small, but they did have a separate wardroom. Most ships have a different, chefs or different cooks, a different kitchen, and a wardroom. Of course, we're so small, we had the same kitchen, so they ate what we ate. Yeah, I believe this right over here is like the secret room. You can come over here and take a look. I think this is where they get all their computer room, that kind of stuff. And since we weren't super computerized and a pretty basic ship, we didn't have much in here, as you see. It still has the old TV. It looked like no one even used that monitor right there. But this is where they would get messages from Department of Defense or wherever. Well, I believe it was Homeland Security. By the time I got out, they were Homeland Security. We started with Department of Transportation. And then they moved us over to Homeland Security while I was in the service. I actually have a little certificate saying that. So it's kind of interesting. This is the executive officer, second in command of the ship. This would be his berthing area right here. And I do believe all the officers, it wasn't big enough to have their own showers in their living area spaces like some bigger ships do. So they all used this bathroom separate than the enlisted. They had their own bathroom and shower. There's only 4 or 5 officers on board. I can't remember. It wasn't that many. Aft steering. I remember at one time we had a problem with the hydraulic pump that was pumping the wrong way, and we got to Chicago and we just couldn't go any further. We had to wait in Chicago. I believe it was 2 weeks, if my memory serves me right, for us wait for a part that had to be refurbished and brought to us. And because the first one was pumping backwards or something, they were having problems with it. So we got stuck in Chicago for 2 weeks. That was fun. This is aft steering. Computer station back there people used to use, check their emails and stuff back in the days. Unzip it with the Velcro right there, and then you roll down this and it rolls down, and this helps with, like, if there's a fire or something, it helps keep the smoke and stuff, like a smoke curtain kind of a thing, keeps the smoke in or out or wherever you're trying to contain it. This right here is a Chief's Petty Officer. This is our CPO division berthing right here. This is where they were. Remember, they had the Chief's mess on the other side, and this right here would be our Chief's wardroom, I should say. This right here would be the Chief, where they slept and took showers and all that good stuff. This is where he was at. But it wasn't a doctor, he was a corpsman, so basically a medical personnel. I would say almost up to a nurse's level. I'm not quite sure how that would equate, but they knew how to do a lot of things, and they helped to soothe our stomach aches, and if we needed a little bit of stitches underway, you know how to do that kind of stuff. Just the minor things. You get to know your your corpsman really well. We got our rescue boat right here, our Zodiac. Looks a little bit out of disrepair, but you're not using it, it's gonna end up like that because it's not a permanent type ship. And here we go. This is the captain's wardroom. Now, I was in food service, FS3, 3rd class, petty officer. This is one of the places we'd maintain. I wouldn't be the only one, but I'd have my time to do it, and I would clean this whole area up. And if you look over here, you got where the captain sits, and then you got where a guest would sit, because the XO's berthing's down below. As you see, it's a lot of history in just this one room alone. Alright, we're gonna go up to the bridge area, and it's a couple more decks up. And this one's really cool. This is our navigation area. Our navigator would be in here, and this is where they plot courses and such. You want to see? Oh, got a beam here. Look at that wasp. I like the ace on the drawers right there. It's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. Got the old style radar right there. Looks like there's something dripping on there. Looks like paint or something. And then of course down below is your power control. You know, you got your oh man, I forgot the name. Anyways, forward, back, left and right. As you can see, got 2 different radars. And then right above the compass, you see that little cup right there, that little bronze tube looking thing? The sound power phone I was telling you about, that's part of that system right there. And that's, I guess the engine room can yell things out so the whole bridge can hear it.
We then headed outside.
Right here is a winch control for this, which lowers and raises the Zodiac right there. Now, of course, that's used in sea and rescue or anything else that we need. Line station. Life-saving lifeboats right here, life craft. When we have lines, when we come in and out of port, we put our equipment in here. Now, the lines, of course, most people would call ropes, but we call them lines. From my understanding, the stanchions right here used to have gun mounts on them. They just never took them off. Of course, being on a lake bordering Canada, we have agreements with them. So saying we can only have certain sized weapons on the Great Lakes to protect ourselves. And that brings up our gun well up here. This used to be a gun well for World War II when they commissioned this in 1944. And I think that was the purpose. But as we go up here, we take a quick look. We used to use this for the trash. We bring it all the way up to the gun well and we put our trash here. And if we had too much, we'd put some up there, but mostly down here. And when we hit port, of course, we dump it over the side. We have the first thing we do. And up here is where we have people that would do our flags. If you look straight up, you can see the ladder well going up to the mast, and they come down over here. That's the repair stuff. Right here is where they put the different signal flags and things up. And as you see, I believe these are where they've kept the flags, here and here. Now this is called a pyro locker. I believe that's where they used to put ammunition. I'm totally not sure if we used that when I was on board. This right here, we used to use this to moor ourselves to a pier or wherever we're at. We put the line, would be coming through here, come through this right here. As you see, they have one on each side to go to either side that you needed to use the line for. They'd go through these and it would be tied up on the shore. So most of the time we'd either have, depending on where we're going, sometimes we'd actually just pull up on the side and have guys jump off the ship real quick and we'd get the ship all tied up to the pier. But most of the time we'd have people waiting for us, or even our own crew ahead of us. You know, a couple guys waiting to put us, waiting for the ship that would help us tie up to the pier. There's an ocean cushion, you know what that is. These right here, from what I understand, again, another thing from the wartime era of World War II, and if I remember right, again, from what I've been told, these are actually depth charge things. You know, you drop the depth charge off the side. I don't know how much truth of that is, but you know, we guess a lot when we have a lot of time on our hands and we're underway about what's on the ship and what people have used it for if we're not using it currently. And so that's what we kind of came up with. Oops, excuse me, maybe this is a depth charge kind of thing. And what I just did is something you never do in the maritime services, is step over a line, because you do what I just did, trip on it. You have to walk, usually you walk around. Coming in and out of port, I had the honor of raising and lowering the American flag. We also called it the ensign. It's a name we give it in the Coast Guard and in the Navy, because I was in the Navy prior. And I had the honor of doing that every time we came in and out of port. And so I stood right here and did that. It's pretty proud position, to something to do. This is another boat the Acacia has. Now if we get on the other side of the pier here, you'll see each one of these bags has a letter on it that spells out the Acacia. It's kind of cool. But this a hard boat. I don't know. I've actually never seen this in the water. It's always been on the ship. The one they used the most was the Zodiac, and I think because it's easier to get off and on for whatever they need. I'm not sure. I would assume this would be more like a captain's yacht situation where they would use it for special guests or events. Which, again, I've never seen them use this ship or use this boat right here. And then, of course, we got the crane operator's deck, the boom shack, and that's the guy that would be in there cooperating with the guys on the deck down below. And as you see from up top here, you can see the massiveness of this big, huge crane. It takes up about 1/3 of the ship. And we'd have the buoys on the deck here. We'd swing them off left or right, depending on where the buoys were, and we'd take them up and put them back down. Now, if you look down too, you can see it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. The forward side, if you see where the plank is coming on board the ship, the brow, opposite side, you can also take off that piece of metal right there, and that's where they'd swing the buoys in, right there, right off from the side of the ship. They take that piece off and they just swing them. Be able to do the same thing in the starboard end port, and you just take out that same little piece, and you'd be able to swing the buoys, so you didn't have to swing them up all over the outside of the ship. You could just swing it right on. If I remember right, we had a bosun mate, got his hand crushed right at the starboard side up there, and the boat moved a little bit, and the buoy swang and hit his hand. It injured him pretty good, and he was a really nice guy. Can't remember his name.
The United States Coast Guard cutter Acacia was one of many ships that have served on the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are treacherous waters, and the Coast Guard have come to the aid of many. The Acacia was a ship that was almost lost to history, but a few dedicated folks in Manistee have preserved the ship for future generations. And now the story of the Acacia will never be forgotten.
Where they would use these to knock out their enemies, but they'd be wood, of course. But they still have them, even in Coast Guard today. There they are.